Hey everyone, welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. Brian and I have each grown physical therapy businesses to 2 million plus in annual revenue. We're looking to get good advice to PTs trying to grow their practices. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. My name is Dr. Owen Campbell, and with me as always is Dr. Brian Wolf, and together we are Physiogrowth. And today in our episode today, we're going to be talking about how to understand and hire the right contractor to do things like pay per click, right? Run your advertising, maybe do your SEO, right? These are, as you're a business owner trying to think about new lines of business. And there's a few different strategies that we have used in the past, and with different vendors, it'll allow you not just to, you don't want to be the guy who says, oh, I don't know, I know ads are a thing, so I'm just going to pay like the guy in my networking group to do it, right? So these are ways, we're going to teach you some ways that you can understand enough that you can be a discerning customer of these vendors and understand, so that you don't make that tragic mistake of, well, I wasted about $6,000 with this guy and I got nothing. And then I learned to do this. So, and for those of you that don't know, he has started his clinic from the back of his car, built it up to 5 clinics, doing $2 million in revenue. And my world was building insurance-based practices for other people. Did that pretty successfully. Got one company to about an 8-figure exit, and then now I have just started my own cash pay PT company. So we are together. We are Physiogrowth, and we run a mastermind group. Typically we meet once a week. You can check it out at www.physiogrowth.com, and in that group we also have a lot of different like modules and stuff that you can look at to hopefully answer some of these questions. So Brian, let's talk about our topic, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about, how do you not get screwed by the I run Facebook ads guy down the street?
Well, I think kind of going back to the full topic of just like
Yeah.
Facebook ads and like all that other stuff, right? I think you got to think about, there's 2 ways to do this, either time or money, right? And so if you are trying to like, especially if people are saying, hey, in my business, I'm trying to grow it. And as I'm trying to grow it, I want to learn it. I think that's a really smart way to do this, right? I think when you hand off everything to somebody, the problem is now there's certain things that there's going to be a paralysis by analysis, just from the perspective of, well, if I take this on my plate and I don't know how to do it, it'll negatively affect me. If you find that you've hired somebody who's doing an effective job where you're saying, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to lose this because it will cost me money to lose them, they're probably actually doing a pretty decent job, right, at what they're doing, if you've got a fear of them. If you're
surprised,
like,
there's good vendors out there who have great businesses because they're good at stuff.
and by the way, outsourcing stuff is not bad, right? Outsourcing things in general can actually be much less expensive than bringing them in-house. However, when to bring them in-house is when you realize that you can do it better than what they're doing. And a lot of times, I think you kind of talked about this, and I don't think you've touched on it yet, but pretty sure we're chatting about the idea behind, like, when do you know, how do you hire vendors, and does it make sense to learn what they're doing and then eventually do it yourself?
So
that is something I have found.
So there's a continuum, right? So let's say you are broke, you just started, and you know that you got to advertise. So when you first do that, typically what a lot of people will do is they will try and learn about the subject, right? They're curious people. They will maybe join a mastermind group, YouTube videos, things like that, where they're like, okay, I'm going to learn what does cost per click mean, and what's a click-through rate, and all this stuff. I'm using, advertisement because that's a big thing in physical therapy, cash-based PT, at least in my world. And I know you use it for fitness. But what you'll do that, right? Because you don't have the money. Like, you can't afford somebody. You can't spend, thousands and then an extra 200 on that guy because he ran it for you. And eventually the strategy is to then know enough that when you do hire somebody, you at least won't get hosed with the sales pitch, right? You'll be able to ask them like somewhat smarter questions. And then you can kind of, after 2 or 3 interviews, kind of get to the person who's like, okay, understand this person. Then the next level in that continuum is because some people come into business with a lot of money, right? So that may be their first step, it may not. But typically, what people will then do is they'll hire somebody who's good at it. But like you said, they won't just say, "Okay, back up, nothing," right? They'll ask questions. They'll figure out what'd you do, how'd you do it, all that stuff, and then they'll learn how the good guys do it. And then they'll either do one of two things. They themselves, as the owner, will come in and say, I could do it better than that guy. I'm just going to do it myself and save the money. And they just accelerated their learning curve because they learned from somebody who's maybe not an A player, but a B player. Right. So if the owners are really like, I love marketing, I just don't know how to do it, hire that guy, take a few steps down the path, and then you become the A player. Right. And I know I think you've done that with Facebook ads because you're running your Facebook ads now for you're a bigger company. Right.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when it comes to what I've done is I've really become again, we kind of filmed some other podcasts on this too. I've become somebody who's ruthlessly trying to learn more about customer acquisition because I think that that's something that's really important, right? Like how to build better websites, how to improve your marketing on Facebook, Google, paid advertising. Originally, how we started with this conversation, and we kind of got to this conversation, was Owen's going on vacation. He said to me, "Well, how do we help, the person who's an entrepreneur keep growing their business when they're away from their business?" And
Hmm.
the answer is automation, right?
Yep.
How to advertise your services without you there, how to schedule those people without you there, right? We talked a little bit AI, how to work on optimizing those pieces for when you're away. So ultimately when you come back, your schedule is not totally screwed. And then you're scrambling like crazy to get people back on your schedule. So you're terrified to go away at some point again.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the piece that's super important is how do I automate my business and make it more efficient to actually grow more without me, right? And so I
Right.
think that the big piece of all this is understanding customer acquisition in general. And this is why, like for us, employees who are the most valuable, the people who want to grow with us and help us with that acquisition, those are the people I'm going to put more eggs in that basket and more money in their pockets, because ultimately what ends up happening is now they're part of that vision. And so if they go on vacation, I'm on it. If I'm on vacation, they're on it. And so
Yeah.
there's an aspect of how to build that properly. So
Yeah.
I think
And
a
what
lot of
Brian's
times,
talking about is the last step in that process where like you learn it and then you hire good people,
yes,
right? So that they
and
can do
teach
it.
them.
They can do that high level stuff for you when you're not there, right?
Yeah.
So that to kind of finish what I was going on, that's that continuum. But like so then you're saying, okay, so how how would you recommend as a business owner to like make sure like would you follow that process, would you jump ahead in that, is there anything in that process that you don't like in terms of like do you think you could skip ahead maybe like I know for a struggle for someone who doesn't have money right now the only option is you got to learn it and try it yourself
Yeah.
right but like I was man I get terrified because you're talking about taking a PT and like someone who's naturally a marketer, you know, pay them a little bit extra if they can do a little bit extra. But like, man, hiring a person, like hiring in-house marketing, it seems like a big step.
I think that the reality of why it's important to learn it. So like we were talking about, pay per click and traffic and lead gen ads and that kind of stuff. The thing around advertising and why it's so important to learn is that if I were to outsource some of that stuff, I would be able to see what positive or negative impact it had, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that we've outsourced that I'm actually quite pleased with was we outsourced our business to our website to a company that designed our website, did SEO really well, right? We get natural organic growth just from that perspective. That was a very smart move for us to do
Hmm.
that, right? It's something I don't have to worry about and messing with our website. On the flip side, that same company also does marketing on social media and things like that. Haven't been in love with that, what they're doing. Now, that plays to my strengths and weaknesses, right? If you think about it, like they're an SEO and website company, that's not my strength. Plus, it also takes up a lot of my time. So the cost of me paying them to do that reduces the amount of time that I have to do on that, which allows me to do other things. So in essence, if a classic thing for someone like you is as you're building your cash businesses, can I see more patients if I farm this out? Can I see more patients if I
Hmm.
farm this out? There's a certain point when you get to where I am where like that doesn't help anymore, right?
Yep.
But then what you look at is more effectively is how do we acquire more customers? How do we be more efficient? how does it affect our bottom line? How does it affect the way for us to make more money, right?
Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about AI and some of these things where it's much more expensive to buy these things. However, if I'm buying them, what I'm excited about is the prospect of fixing bottlenecks with my business to make more money. And that's how you grow a business. And so
Yeah.
ultimately you have to be evaluating that process all the time. So when it comes to, somebody learning it now, I'm a big proponent of leaning into the things that you enjoy doing, leaning
Mhm.
into the things that help you make more money within your business right now, because you're doing a lot of wearing different hats and wearing those hats,
Mhm.
and particularly the things you don't like and the things that are pretty cost effective, start farming them out one by one that buy back your time. I'll give you two great examples. One is bookkeeping. If your
Mhm.
books are a mess, you shouldn't be doing that. Just get it out of your system and go to somewhere else, right?
Yep.
Save yourself a couple hours a month right there.
Yep.
You can take on a couple patients that'll fix it. Two is, like I said, SEO and website, which I know you've done and you've
Yep.
outsourced, right?
Yep.
So it allows
First
you
thing
not
I
to have
did.
to worry about stuff. Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of that
I don't
stuff.
know
So it's
anything about
all done. And so what ends
that.
up happening is it allows you to optimize your natural organic growth. And now what
Yeah.
you can do, Owen, is you can focus on Google ads and Facebook
Yeah.
ads and different things from that, boots on the
Well,
ground marketing,
and
right? And
I'm
that
thinking
optimizes.
of when you speak about books on the ground, everything. I think that's where I'm at right now, right? Where I now am busy enough that word of mouth of me just dropping into gyms and going to random things, it's going to get. I don't have the time for that. So
Yes.
now I'm taking that first step of optimizing of doing paid advertisement, right?
Yep.
So the ads can do the meeting new people for me around the clock, right? And I pay Google or I pay Facebook for that, right? Now, hopefully, maybe 3 or 4 more patients in that. Now, I enjoy doing that, right? So that's probably going to be something I keep. But if I wasn't somebody who likes tinkering with if I do this and I change this, how does it get me more results? That might be the first thing I'd pay for is just somebody to run my Google ads and I give them a percentage, right? Because then I can focus on, customer experience or, you know, hiring new employers, whatever it is, right? So I think that every step you kind of have to do what you were saying of like, what are the things I like to do? What are the things I really don't want to do, right? And what are the most important? If you don't have a website when you first start out, I can guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say guarantee because a lot of people do build businesses with pretty awful websites, but like
Yeah.
it's your storefront, it's your online storefront, right?
Yeah.
So like if you don't have a storefront and you're trying to sell widgets on the corner, like you're gonna have a hard time doing it,
Yeah.
So I prioritize that. So I think it's that prioritization thing you're talking about, and then eventually you'll run into stuff that you don't want to do, like with you with an SEO firm. Yeah, you could write a billion blog posts, or you could just have somebody else do that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and your point going back to the website, right? And like I do know plenty of people who like operate their business without a website. But the
Yeah,
reality of like that stuff, like in physical therapy nowadays, think about
yeah,
it. Again, we were talking about this kind of before the AI was like, if there are 10 clients that are all searching on Google, that means I'm going 0 for 10 on those clients. I'm
yep,
just totally shutting down a sector of marketing that makes no sense. So like to
yeah,
me, it's such an important part of it because especially when you think about physician-owned clinics and all these different
hmm,
clinics that basically have physicians like referring to them, you're now praying that you're going to get part of those referrals, right? And that's the only way you're doing it. So yeah, I think what you're trying to figure out is how do I acquire different again, customer acquisition model, like how do I get more people in the door, right? And so that is what I'm always looking forward to is like, how can I optimize it? How can I turn on the faucet to make it better? And again, like some of that stuff, we hired an agency that really helped a lot of our fitness stuff, and I think we've learned a lot of stuff from what they've been doing to the point where we think we can optimize it and do them better, and have learned what they're doing, and now we're going to copy it to a certain degree and then run with it and try and innovate it, right? That is something of how you can also hire agencies that, like, again, those agencies we pay shit tons of money to, so it's not
hmm,
like it's something that I'm not investing in. But then you got to think of it that way. So the other part of it is to kind of take a glass half full approach on this is I don't think you can necessarily waste money when you outsource stuff, especially when
yeah,
you get sale. To your point about how do we get caught in the sale piece, as long as you're able to learn something. If I can
hmm,
learn stuff from that person and build and then also grow and do it myself, then in essence, it was worth the investment to a degree. I remember spending $8,000 on a program for me that I kind of regret doing. I won't lie. I didn't feel like I got the return on investment that I wish I got. However, the actual information that I put in there was worth the investment.
hmm,
Because now I'm able to actually grow. I still haven't made my money back on it, but I know eventually I will just because of the skills that I've built. But look,
yep,
here's the good news. If you want that type of tutelage from people who can help you grow and your business and help you do that, without spending $8,000. Instead, you can pay us $99 per month at physio-growth.com and go into our school group, and you can go to all of our modules, everything we've learn from us weekly on calls. And guess what? You won't have to break the bank and spend that much money. So it allows you to actually get all this information we've accumulated. So again, that's why Physio Growth is so valuable, is you get to learn from us at a very, very inexpensive cost.
The whole reason we're doing all these podcasts and we're taking time away from our businesses and, offering things like this for people at like a very reasonable rate is we just want your trust, right? We want to make we want you to trust us. Because we think we can really help people. There's so many conversations that we have with business owners that we're just like, oh, like I probably made that guy like $3,000 just by like a conversation over coffee. Right. So we're thinking, man, if we can help people, all the better. Right.
Yeah.
And then we just want to be a resource. So check
sure.
that out, www.physio-growth.com. And hope to see you there. All right, Brian,
Cool.
We are out, my friend.
All right, man. See ya.
See ya.